Imagine walking on a glass floor 150 meters above the ground, with nothing but a thin, transparent layer separating you from the void. Now imagine that this floor is part of a structure that, according to experts, was technically impossible to build. A structure so daring that its original architect ended up suing the city that built it. Welcome to the Dubai Frame, a monument that managed to transform nothing into a multi-million-dollar tourist attraction. That's what we're going to discover today. Dubai is known for its impossible buildings, the Burj Khalifa, the Burj Al Arab, the Palm Islands, a city that seems to accept no limits. But in 2009, when the city was already full of iconic structures, a revolutionary idea emerged. Instead of building yet another skyscraper, why not build a structure that would frame all the others? A Mexican architect named Fernando Donis had an idea that at first glance seemed simple: a giant picture frame. An empty rectangle 150 meters high that would function as a window between two worlds. On one side, old Dubai with its souks and traditional buildings. On the other, modern Dubai with its futuristic skyscrapers. Donis presented his project in an international competition with almost 1,000 participants and won. But what happened next was as surprising as the structure itself. Donis's idea was minimalist, a simple frame following the golden ratio, 1:1.618. So beloved by artists and architects. But let's be honest, how do you convince engineers to build an empty 150-meter-high rectangle without it collapsing with the first strong wind? That's where our story gets really interesting. If you're enjoying this video so far, please hit that subscribe button, leave a comment below, and smash that like button. It really helps the channel and ensures you won't miss our next videos about Dubai's architectural wonders. To understand what makes the Dubai frame special, we need to understand a bit of basic physics. Tall constructions normally function as vertical pillars. The higher you go, the wider the base needs to be to ensure stability. But the frame had a problem. It's essentially two thin towers connected by a bridge at the top. Imagine two barbecue skewers holding a chocolate bar at the top. It doesn't seem very stable, does it? Additionally, the frame's towers are slender, approximately 3 times taller than they are wide. In engineering terms, this is like asking the wind to knock them down. The solution? Create a system where the two towers work together as if they were a single structure, a giant rectangular portal frame. But this had never been done on this scale before. The towers were built with reinforced concrete, about 9,900 cubic meters, enough to fill 4 Olympic swimming pools. But the real challenge came later. The upper walkway, called the Sky Bridge, weighs 800 tons, equivalent to 200 adult elephants. Imagine lifting 200 elephants 150 meters high and positioning them perfectly between two towers. The engineers decided on a bold strategy. They assembled the entire structure of the walkway on the ground and then lifted it whole, using a system of cables and hydraulic jacks called strand jacking. This was one of the most tense moments of the entire construction. A small miscalculation, a stronger gust of wind, and 800 tons of metal could collapse. The operation required perfect weather conditions and millimetric coordination, but even after being positioned, the walkway still presented a challenge. Structures so tall and slender tend to oscillate with the wind. To solve this, engineers installed tuned mass dampers, basically giant weights that move in the opposite direction of the structure's oscillation, neutralizing the movement. It's like that guy who can balance 20 plates on sticks. When a plate starts to oscillate to one side, he moves the stick in the opposite direction to maintain balance. But a building isn't made of structure alone. And here comes another fascinating aspect of the Dubai frame, its appearance. Donis's original project was minimalist, but during development, the design gained a spectacular golden coating with circular patterns inspired by the Expo 2020 logo. To cover the entire structure, 15,000 square meters of stainless steel sheets with a golden finish were used, an area large enough to cover 2 soccer fields. This coating isn't just beautiful, it also protects the structure from Dubai's extreme heat, where temperatures can reach 50 degrees Celsius in the summer. Another challenge, ensuring that materials could handle thermal expansion. When materials heat up, they expand. In small structures, this isn't a big problem, but in something the size of the Dubai frame, this expansion can be significant. The solution was to include expansion joints throughout the structure, carefully calculated spaces that allow materials to grow without damaging the whole. The glass used in the frame is also special. There are about 2,900 square meters of laminated glass, a sandwich, of several layers of glass with polymers between them. If one layer breaks, the others maintain structural integrity. The famous glass floor of the upper walkway uses this system. It's transparent enough to give the sensation of floating in the air, but strong enough to support dozens of people jumping on it at the same time. That's why, even though you feel like you could fall at any moment when you're up there, you are, in fact, completely safe. But not everything was rosy in the history of the Dubai frame. Remember the architect Fernando Donis, whom I mentioned at the beginning. He won the competition in 2009 and received $100,000 for the concept. However, according to him, Dubai proceeded with the project without his direct participation, altering important aspects of the original design. Donis filed a lawsuit against the city, alleging copyright infringement. The legal dispute continued even after the frame was inaugurated in 2018. This controversy raises important questions about intellectual property in architecture. When a city buys a concept, to what extent can it alter it? While this battle was happening in the courts, another much more physical battle was happening at the construction site. The Dubai frame was supposed to be built in record time, a trademark of Dubai's developments. But the project ended up taking almost 5 years to complete, from 2013 to 2018. What caused this delay? First, the foundations. To support the weight of 2 150-meter towers and an 800-ton walkway, special foundations were needed that penetrated deep into the soil. Next, the towers began to rise simultaneously between 2014 and 2015. To accelerate this process, the builders used a system called climbing forms, essentially concrete molds that climb the structure as it grows. It's like building a sandcastle using a bucket. You shape one section, lift the bucket, and repeat the process for the next section. But the real challenge came in 2016 with the installation of the upper walkway. As we mentioned before, it was assembled entirely on the ground and then raised to the top of the towers. Imagine trying to fit a pencil perfectly between the fingers of 2 people, except the pencil weighs 800 tons and the hands are 150 meters high. The operation required perfect weather conditions, no strong winds. In the United Arab Emirates, this means working during the early morning hours, when temperatures are lower and winds are calmer. And speaking of temperature, this was another major challenge. Dubai can reach over 50 degrees Celsius in the summer, which affects both workers and materials. Working under extreme heat isn't just uncomfortable, it's dangerous. Teams had to rotate frequently, and many tasks were done during the night. Even so, the project employed hundreds of workers per shift. For concrete, heat is especially problematic. When poured, concrete generates its own heat through chemical reactions. In hot climates, this extra heat can cause cracks. The solution? Special curing techniques, including covering fresh concrete with water or using chemical compounds that retain moisture. In some cases, even ice was used in the mixture to start with a lower temperature. A project of this magnitude requires an orchestra of companies working in harmony. The overall supervision was in the hands of the Dubai municipality, which funded and managed the enterprise. The executive design and engineering were in the hands of Hyder Consulting, part of the Arcadis Group, a global giant in engineering consultancy. They transformed Donis's concept into a viable project. The main construction was handled by Al Rostamani Pegel LLC, a local UAE company. They coordinated the immense construction site and executed the concrete structure. But for specialized tasks, companies from around the world were summoned. Eversendai Engineering manufactured the metal structures. VSL Middle East carried out the lifting of the walkway. Perry GmbH supplied the concrete forms, Gerb installed the mass dampers, and ThyssenKrupp provided the panoramic elevators that rise 48 floors in just 75 seconds. It's as if the Dubai frame were a Hollywood production, with specialists from various areas collaborating to create something extraordinary. Now that we understand how it was built, let's discover what it's like to visit the Dubai frame. The experience begins right at the base of the structure. Upon entering, visitors are greeted by an immersive museum that tells the story of Dubai, from its humble beginnings as a village of fishermen and pearl traders to its transformation into a futuristic metropolis. The museum uses cutting-edge technology, including 3D projections and holograms, to tell this story of radical transformation. It's like traveling through time. Afterwards, visitors board panoramic elevators that rise 48 floors in just 75 seconds. During the ascent, the glass walls offer impressive views of the city that expand as you rise. Upon reaching the top, at 150 meters high, visitors are welcomed by a glass walkway 93 meters long. On one side, the old city with its traditional markets and Dubai Bay. On the other, the modern city, with skyscrapers like the Burj Khalifa. In the center of the walkway is the attraction that makes many visitors hesitate: the glass floor. When stepping on it, one has the sensation of floating above the city. It's a literally vertiginous experience, which many describe as walking on air. For the bravest, it's the perfect place for a memorable selfie. After exploring the upper walkway, visitors descend by another elevator to an exhibition that imagines Dubai's future in the next 50 years. It's a complete journey, from the past through the present to the future, all framed by this extraordinary structure. Since its inauguration in January 2018, the Dubai frame has become one of the city's most visited tourist spots, attracting more than 1 million visitors a year. But its impact goes beyond tourism. In 2018, the frame received the award for Best Slender or Tall Structure from the Institution of Structural Engineers, a recognition of the excellence of its innovative engineering. The Dubai frame also represents something fundamental to Dubai's identity: the connection between tradition and modernity. By literally framing the two sides of the city, it functions as a metaphorical bridge between past and future. And perhaps its greatest achievement is something we cannot see. The Dubai frame proved that with enough ingenuity, even seemingly impossible projects can become reality. It has inspired architects and engineers to challenge the limits of the possible, showing that sometimes the void, the negative space, can be as impactful as a solid structure. In the end, the Dubai frame is more than an impressive architectural structure. It's a symbol of human capacity to transform bold concepts into concrete reality. The next time you visit Dubai and find yourself walking on that glass floor 150 meters high, remember, you're not just standing on a thin, transparent layer. You're standing on layers of innovation, bold engineering, hard work, and ambitious vision. The Dubai frame teaches us that sometimes the greatest work of art is not what you build, but what you choose to frame. And you? What would you like to frame with your own impossible frame? If you enjoyed this video about one of Dubai's most fascinating structures, don't forget to subscribe to the Dubai Curious channel, leave your like and share with friends. Next week, we'll discover how Dubai built artificial palm-shaped islands that can be seen from space. See you then.